Moff Gideon is swiftly rising to prominence as one of the newest, most formidable antagonists in the modern Star Wars era. With legions of Empire supporters and fractured slivers of the original rule under his command, his fragmented regime seems to pose a continual threat to his corner of the galaxy. Despite his capture at the end of The Mandalorian Season 2, it seems likely that he will continue to be a recurring player in the near future of several Star Wars projects, perhaps in the upcoming Ahsoka series, Season 3 of The Mandalorian, or later in the Book of Boba Fett, but where exactly he is set to reappear remains to be seen. Despite being a powerful and prominent figure in this era, we saw Gideon utterly quaking in his boots during the finale of The Mandalorian Season 2, as we learned that not only does he recognize, but fears the silhouette of Luke Skywalker, despite never having formally come into contact with the Jedi Knight. So what did Gideon know about the legendary Luke Skywalker? How did he view the Jedi Knight, and why did he regard Luke with such fear in the closing moments of The Mandalorian Season 2 finale? Well, stick with us, weary travelers of the galaxy, and let's delve into Luke's public image and how he was viewed by the wider galaxy as a whole, and especially the remaining Imperial fragments, such as Moff Gideon. While we as fans know the story of the young Luke Skywalker intimately, from his origins as a lowly farm boy on Tatooine, to his growth into a capable Jedi Knight, the galaxy had a much different perception of the young Jedi, a perception that hinted at far more prestige and notoriety. Moff Gideon most certainly would have known the story of the Jedi, of who they were and what they could accomplish, but even among the legacy of the Jedi, Luke held a special significance that set him apart from the Jedi Masters of old. Most Jedi Masters were regarded as skilled war generals and some of the most formidable warriors in the galaxy, and their power was among the most formidable in the galaxy as a whole, but their order was toppled by the events of the Clone Wars, as well as Order 66 and Darth Sidious. At the center of Order 66 and the subsequent Jedi Purge was the legendary Darth Vader, famed Jedi hunter and executioner, who would spend the next 2 decades reigning over the galaxy with an iron fist, slaughtering any remaining Jedi that would surface during this era, not to mention hunting down and quelling Force sensitives in general. Darth Vader was the single most imposing threat that the era of the Empire had to offer, and the very name of mention of the Sith Lord would garner fear between surviving Jedi or rebel forces. Vader is perhaps the epitome of how misinformation was spread throughout the galaxy, as his identity was kept a secret and his story was retold time and time again with the express intent of building fear. Luke Skywalker, however, in the midst of the Imperial forces, was single-handedly responsible for not only the destruction of not 1 but 2 Death Stars, but the death of both Darth Vader as well as Emperor Palpatine himself. Luke was more intimidating than Vader. It's important to remember that the perspective that the Imperial officers and stormtroopers had was widely biased and skewed, as they did not know the full story of what transpired that fateful day, only their interpretation of the events. The young Skywalker first garnered name recognition after the destruction of the first Death Star, and the recognition of the Skywalker name helped to solidify his reputation to those who knew of its significance. While this was an impressive feat, however, he did not attain such a mythic reputation simply from the destruction of the first Death Star. After learning that the young Skywalker protege destroyed the single greatest galactic weapon in modern Star Wars history, the rebellion continued to wage war on the Empire until the final crescendo above Endor. From here, it's important to remember how the survivors of the second Death Star perceived the events of Return of the Jedi, and specifically what took place within the Emperor's throne room. They saw Luke Skywalker enter the Emperor's chambers in handcuffs, with none other than the Sith legend Darth Vader personally escorting him. They then saw Luke Skywalker leaving the very same chambers with Darth Vader in critical condition and nearing death after having apparently killing Emperor Palpatine single-handedly. This perception of events and the belief that Luke had killed both reigning Sith Lords helped to cement his status as galactic legend and helped him to grow into something far larger than just a person or even a Jedi Knight. We see this mythic status throughout the sequel trilogy, as Rey believed that Luke was nothing more than a legend, and her discovery of the famed Jedi Master was a significant driving force throughout The Force Awakens as well as The Last Jedi. We know that both Death Stars did in fact have escape pods, as well as many smaller ships and vessels, and we are able to hear the commotion of stormtroopers evacuating, meaning the survivors of the Death Star 2 were plentiful. If there was an abundance of survivors from this event and directly witnessing the events of Return of the Jedi, they likely would have carried the story with them, telling their perspective of the events until the tale made its way to upper-level Imperial sympathizers like Gideon as well as his forces. Though, since none of them were in the throne room when everything took place, they would have been relegated to their own interpretation of the events that transpired there. Therefore, the story that would have circulated throughout the galaxy was how the son of famed war general Anakin Skywalker single-handedly had slain two of the most powerful forces that the galaxy had ever seen. These two incredibly powerful Sith Lords were able to accomplish what no reign before them could achieve, that being the complete annihilation of the Jedi Order. This pair of ruling Sith were finally able to conquer the Jedi practice in its entirety, despite the height of the Order holding upwards of 10,000 skilled Jedi Knights. Yet, these two beings were able to slaughter each and every one of them in the eyes of the galaxy. Two incredibly powerful Sith Lords who were responsible for 2 decades of oppression and control over an entire galaxy were killed in just a single day by just one figure, the last and perhaps the most powerful of the Jedi. Upon watching Luke march through Gideon's legion of Dark Troopers, he was likely replaying the story in his head of how this very hooded figure was responsible for the liberation of the galaxy, and largely attributed the deaths of both the Emperor and Darth Vader to this one Jedi, who now, for all he knew, was coming for him. This likely left him to wonder exactly what happened in that throne room on that fateful day, and what Luke Skywalker was truly capable of. As for all he knew, the Emperor and Darth Vader both put up an incredible fight in unison, and Luke was able to conquer the combined might of both Vader and the Emperor. From this point, it did not matter if Gideon was restrained, nor did it matter if he had the Darksaber or a battalion of Dark Troopers by his side. There was no feasible way that he could ever hope to stand up to the image of Luke Skywalker that he had constructed in his head, and the image that the galaxy as a whole believed of the famed Jedi Knight. This is why Moff Gideon was so terrified, to the point where he attempted to take his own life. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this reasoning? What do you believe the galaxy thought of Luke, and what happened aboard the second Death Star 2? And is this a reasonable explanation for why Moff Gideon was so terrified at the mere image of Luke Skywalker? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the channel. May the Force be with you, and I hope you have a great day.